Hey, salon owners and hairdressers. I was just wondering if you happen to be one of the many that suffer from carpal tunnel syndrome. It is something that super affects our industry. In fact, physioperformance.com says that if you are in this profession, you are 3 times more likely to come across the symptoms or possibly be diagnosed with carpal tunnel syndrome. The National Institute of Health says that we're actually 5 times more likely to get it than the general public. I had my own story with it, and it's what caused me to start to do some investigation and to explore and find out and try to educate myself on it. If you are young in the business, I definitely think that we can do some things to either stove it off, prolong it, and possibly avoid it altogether. I don't think it's necessarily one of those things that it's just set in stone that you're going to get. So I think there's some things that we can do. But first of all, a lot of people don't even know what it is. What is carpal tunnel? As I understand it, not a doctor, and you should always consult a doctor, but between these two things, you've got all your little bones that go up. Right in here between is a ligament, and then underneath is like your median nerve. And of course, your nerve makes you feel your hands and all that. That nerve goes all the way up and connects, like for your arm, connects to your neck. So a lot of times you can maybe feel the pain go down your arm. But as far as carpal tunnel, we'll just stick with the hand. So it goes up under here, and there's a ligament on top. And when that ligament gets swollen, when that area gets inflamed, it presses on that nerve, and it, of course, causes all kinds of symptoms. The biggest one that you'll hear people say is that their hands are tingling or that they hurt. Their hand hurts. Hand feels like it's falling asleep, which was what happened to me. So I am not one to go to the doctor, but I had a regular checkup anyway, and I thought, while I'm here, I'm going to ask him about it. He made a great recommendation and said for me to get like a bowling glove. But what it does, it's a brace, like a bowling brace, or we wore them when we rollerbladed. And what it does is it just kind of fits on your hand, but it has like a little plastic thing that just sort of holds your hand up. So when we sleep, a lot of times we tuck our hands in. And so he said it'll hold that area open so that the blood can flow, so that the nerve can do its thing. I decided before I slept in a bowling glove, I would just try to hold my hands, because I definitely was one to do this, kind of, tuck in. So I said, I'm going to try to just hold my hands out and lay them flat, and we'll just see if that works. If I can't do it, then I'll go get the glove or the brace. But what I found was it actually did help. It helped a lot. And somehow I managed to not revert back. Every once in a while, if I'm super tired, I'll tuck my hands in. But for the most part, I've been able to keep my hands still like that, lay them flat on my chest or my stomach or whatever, but I don't tuck them in like I used to. And it seemed to really help. So some of the things that I've kind of found, let's go over the symptoms. So some of the symptoms of carpal tunnel obviously are your hands falling asleep and feeling tingly. Also, you'll hear people say that they feel like they're going numb. Your hands are going numb. And typically I think it's mostly these fingers, but it can be like your entire hand. There's aching. It just hurts. You might have swelling. Everybody does it a little bit different, obviously. But you might have swelling in your fingers. Some people say that they have restless hands, like they have restless leg syndrome, where they just can't get relaxed. They just can't chill. So that's one of the things. The other thing is you'll start losing grip strength. Now, I don't know about y'all, but we do have a joke running at our salon of who's going to drop the most stuff today. Your hand just sometimes doesn't feel like it's closing all the way. So sometimes you'll lose actual grip strength. And then, of course, if it's, the numbing feeling, we have to be concerned about that for making sure that we can feel temperatures and, feeling when we actually touch someone's head. As hairdressers, we have to worry about that. One of the things that I always harp on is good, correct body posture. So always having your shoulders back, holding yourself up. When you're cutting hair, making sure that you're not overextending your arms, that you're not holding in an awkward way, you're not hunched over, You're not caught to the side to try to see, how hair's done, or you're not standing with your hip to the right and you're cutting to the left, things like that. Having good, correct body posture for cutting, doing your highlights, doing your color, everything, body posture is definitely one of the things that can help keep the flow. Like I said, apparently it comes from the neck. So to keep that flow open, that is definitely one of the things that I found. And it was something that I was already trying really hard to do. When you think of how long I've been doing hair, for me to have not had an issue until it was 4 or 5 years ago, that's a pretty long career. So I really did think, maybe my correct body posture was actually helping keep this from affecting me earlier on in my career. So we've got correct body posture, positioning. You want to stand straight, in line with your client, no cocking a hip. We don't want to lean over to the side and do this for extended periods of time. We don't want to be overstretching our arms. We forget a lot of times that our chair will pump up and down. And so we need to take advantage that our chair will pump up and down and not strain our bodies. We want to take advantage of this incredible invention called the pump, and it lowers your chair. So that is definitely one way to keep and hold the correct body posture while you're doing haircuts or whatever service. Another thing that I did not realize I was doing that was actually helping was continuing to build finger strength and strength in my hands. So when we're cutting, typically we're pushing with our thumb, but I have a habit of doing this all the time. There are times that I have been sort of obsessed with blood circulation and feeling that circulation. And this is one of the ways to keep your blood circulating. So when I run, I kind of do my hands in and out. When I'm at work, in between clients, not unusual to see me moving my hands back and forth. Because when you do that, say 5 or 10 times, you can feel the blood pump back up in your arms. You can feel your muscles kicking in and contracting. So that, I think, was helping, and I didn't even know it. I did not know it. So let's see what else we might need to do. So another thing that I believe helps, that can help avoid the possibility and the potential of getting carpal tunnel syndrome, is making sure that you have correct tools. So let's think about your shears. It's very important to have shears that are the correct length for the job that you're doing. Okay. If you are someone who has seen a hair show and they have these really long shears and it just looked really cool, but when you're having to hold your hand like kind of long and weird to accommodate for a long shear, you're causing so much more pressure and tension on muscles that shouldn't be, squeezing them, contracting them, and holding in a weird way. And that's not going to be helpful. So we want to use the correct length shear, and we want to be able to make sure that we have like normal hand control as opposed to holding on for dear life. By the same token, doesn't happen as often, but you'll see somebody with a super small shear, and then they're overworking themselves because they have a small blade and they're having to work overtime with their thumb really tight. So you're going to be using muscles in ways that they were not intended to be used holding a pair of shears. So you want an appropriate shear for the task at hand, and you want your hand to just have normal command of the shear opening and closing. Another thing with our shears, the package almost always comes with like 2 little insert rings that you can put in the holes if you need to. I know a lot of people who just throw those away. I think that's shortchanging yourself. You need to at least try them with the insert in. If your shear is loose or scooting back to the back part of your finger and you're having to do this, again, just for me to hold this finger in this way, my hand is flexed in an odd position. But if that's what I'm using to hold the shears in my hands, I'm causing contractions there that shouldn't be there. Also, it typically will wind up making the thumb, instead of pushing here, you wind up pushing back here. So your hand just gets contorted, and it should actually be kind of stretched out. Okay, so that's another tip, is to make sure that you use the correct length shear for the task. And also, I would at least try it to see if the circle inserts help the size of the holes that you put your fingers in fit your hand better. If it will help relieve you from having to hold so tightly to keep the shears on. So that's another one. I use an offset handle, and an offset handle is wonderful because it does work with my thumb is naturally up here. My finger is naturally back here. So you're going to hold your hand in a much more natural position with an offset handle. Not everybody likes those, and that's okay. You do what works for you. Another type of shear that a lot of people get a lot of benefit from and love is a swivel handle. That way, you need to turn it upside down. The thumb will automatically change directions for you and bend with you as your hand is trying to go through. So a lot of people love a swivel thumb. I just say you need your hand to be in the most relaxed state, doing what it's doing and letting this be the driver. Keep your hand moving in the direction that you're going. So another thing that I was actually doing that I didn't really realize, drink plenty of water. We need to lubricate our joints. Lots of hydration keeps that blood flowing through. It helps keep things flushing out. Anytime that you have inflammation in the body, or anytime that you're swollen, you're holding on to water, it's going to make your joints swell. It's going to make your knuckles swell. It's going to make everything swell. So drinking plenty of water is going to help eliminate that. So one of the things that I also did that I did not realize might be helping me avoid carpal tunnel syndrome was, I am a big person when I walk, or even when I wake up in the morning before I start work. I do big arm circles. So I do big arm circles. What that does is it shrugs up here. We want to keep lymph moving throughout your system by doing big arm circles. That helps your lymphatic system drain and move throughout the body, but it also keeps your shoulders lubricated. It also keeps the motion. So you're not going to compensate with a hand and an elbow because your shoulders are so tight. You're going to actually keep those moving. A body in motion stays in motion. So we have to move everything and keep it going that way. But there's something about the up and down moving that keeps this nerve that goes all the way down the arm into the hand. It keeps it flowing, nothing pinching, because you don't want it pinching in your neck and you don't want it pinching here. The little shoulder shrug type thing is a good thing for carpal tunnel. Like I said, I was doing that and did not realize it. I wasn't doing it for carpal tunnel prevention, but what I was doing, I think, obviously helped keep it at bay for so long. Another thing is to take breaks throughout the day. There is such a push, and we are people pleasers by nature, that we want to fit in as many people as we can. And oftentimes that leaves us without a break. So we have to be able to stop, take a break, use our hands in a different way. Because one of the biggest things about getting carpal tunnel is the fact that you're doing the same repetitive motion over and over and over again. So people who are on assembly line, and definitely hairdressers, are the ones who are showing up with carpal tunnel much more so than the general public. So we need to be able to step back, take a break, take 5-10 minutes, use our hands in a different way. Another thing that I do that I did not realize I think might have been helping is hand massage. So again, talking about blood circulation, keeping things moving, preventing or getting rid of swollen hands. So I typically just kind of rub up and down, and these two muscles here flank where that median nerve and the ligament are. So being able to spread it out and then hit it in the middle will wind up keeping things open, keeping things loose. a lot of this with strengthening. I suppose you could get those hand grips. You might want to check with somebody, but you could get those hand grips and squeeze. That's going to help build the muscle around it to help hold that ligament up. And then I think going back and actually doing hand massage to keep things loose, moving, firm, is going to help really give you the best chance to avoid carpal tunnel syndrome. Lastly, I hope you don't ever have to, but you know what? Go to the doctor if you need to, if you're having issues and some of these things don't help. I mean, don't take a long time. Go to the doctor and let them check you out. You go make your best educated decision, a decision between you and your doctor on how you need to handle it. There are all kinds of things that they do. They'll, steroid shots or surgery. And those are just things that if I can avoid doing them, I'm going to avoid them at all costs. I hope that some of these tips will help you guys. Why don't you let me know if there's anything that you think could help somebody else or help me? So I'm Jenny Lee Ryan with Jenny Lee Salon Education, and I hope this helps on your hairdresser non-carpal tunnel syndrome adventure. Okay, see ya.